Hi everyone! Last time I was talking about things which I don't like, or at least mentioned, about the things which I don't like in the IT, trends. And one of them which I would like to cover today is GDPR. Lovely topic. And actually not GDPR itself, but all the craziness around it. First, I want to cover what is in general GDPR topic, then what were the motive or motivation factors why it have appeared, user point of view, what it has brought for the user, then developer point of view, what it has brought for developer, and who probably finally benefit out of it. So let's go one by one and see. What is GDPR? GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation. Simple as that. Basically, it's around the European Union, so every citizen in Europe should have the right to have their data protected and secured. So it's covering the whole European economical area, and the citizens there, it doesn't matter where the data is stored. If the person or identity belongs to European Union, then they have to be under protection. So initially it was published, at least first kickoff happened in 2016. Then it was, let's say, officially taken place in 2018. There was also the agreement between United States and Europe until 2020. I think it was called EU-US Data Shield, which was broken in 2020 or somewhere around that. And then in 2022 have reappeared the new version, which was called as the European and United States Data Privacy Framework, which is probably also going to be broken after some time in the courts. So that's basically the idea behind. So every citizen of the Europe have the right to ensure that their data are saved and it's transparent what is happening in data, plus on the top have the right to be forgotten. Pretty much simple. The motives there. So basically the idea was to protect the European citizens and their personal identifiable information to ensure that it's securely saved on the servers, then transmitted in a safe way, that it's not misused, not resold to third parties or somewhere outside. The purpose of the data is pretty much clear, why it's collected, the reasons behind that data which is collected consistent, not messed up somehow, and that it's erased as soon as it's not needed anymore. Simple. Involved parties in the data protection regulations, usually you need to split. There is natural person, like you for example, or me, anyone else, who has some kind of private information and private identifiable information. Then it's gonna be data processor, so actually the party which is the processing data on their own or on behalf of someone's name or some other company. And also, of course, the data controller. So actually the company which is collecting the data and about particular person or persons in general, and actually afterwards maybe provided to the processing units or entities. So kind of main, let's say, parties here. So far sounds pretty good, yeah? On the paper it really sounds good. In reality, well, it doesn't, as usual. So let's take a look from the end user point of view, what it has brought. Well, all of you probably have installed in your browser ad blocker, all of you have installed pop-up blockers, all of you have installed some kind of notification blockers. So a lot of things which are pop-upping on the site here and there, which almost disturbing, when you just open the site and try to, I don't know, read some kind of article and then you see pop-up here, there, you try to block everything. Yeah, now bad news, you need again to block plus one more pop-up, or somehow to get rid of it, or somehow you have additional layer of interruption. So you're searching for a particular article or particular information. You open the site which is supposed to have this information. you have all the advertisements are blocked around, but you still have the consent information, which is, well, it contains really a lot of legal texts, which is really too long to read. They contain a lot of, let's say, information which you like, and they actually ask you to proactively reply on that. If you are agree with that, if you're not agree, which options you want to choose. And yeah, from user experience point of view, I would tell it's a first like big pain. Moreover, the fun part in the regulation starts that you also as a vendor, you cannot like that easily to highlight particular options, say that, okay, here's select all, here is reject all, and you shouldn't, let's say, make influence on the person who is reading this consent, which means that all the buttons should look the same. And yeah, in most cases, to make legal compliance, companies provide you accept all, and then reject all, and if you want to do something else, you really need to dig into really huge amount of text, understand what is in the hell happening with your data. But you actually wanted to read just one article. I mean, why you should read a lot of text like that? I mean, you are not in rocket science right now. You're not registered on some kind of strange sites, whatever. But yeah, welcome. Now you have plus one more pop-up to handle and one more interruption layer. Second part, ads, yeah? They become dumber. I mean, of course, you still block a lot of them through the ad blocks. On the other side, a bunch of them became more dumb just because, again, it's much harder to trace what is happening with your interests. That's why it's harder to make user not profiling but attribution properly for ad serving companies, and that's why, I mean, they by default try to fill up somehow the advertisement spaces with kind of trash ads which are just, I don't know, the most popular right now. So, which means that targeting became more complex. Good or bad? Well, I mean, if you ask me, for me it's bad. I don't like to see our ads in general, but when I see it, at least I hope that it's somehow targeted to me. But yeah, in these conditions, it's pretty much hard to target anything. Then, yeah, data reselling. Yeah, I mean, you know, there is a lot of companies in the past especially who were collecting the data, aggregating this data across different sites, across the different data bridges, and then they were selling this data to another companies for, I don't know, CRM purposes and whatever else. This part seems to be became a little bit better. I mean, but on the other side, honestly, I live in Europe and my mobile phone was ringing in the past with trash calls, with advertisement, and now it's the same. It didn't change for me as an end user. Amount of calls with some kind of ads, well, almost didn't change. The thing is that phone numbers now different. Like in the past they were, for example, German or Dutch one. Now it's somewhere from Austria, Luxembourg, or like England. So that's the fun part. I mean, like on the one side Austria is part of Europe, on the other side on some reason I have a feeling that they have some kind of gaps or whatever. Otherwise I can't explain the reasons why I have a lot of, let's say, trash calls from Austrian mobile numbers. So if you ask me, from my point of view, this part didn't change really too much. Like, there were crowding in place, there were data sales in place behind the scene, and it just remains. It's just more hidden. It's a little bit harder to find it, but still, it's there. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any trash call, any spam call, or any kind of suspicious calls in general. But they're there, at least in my case. Then, crowding of the data in general. I mean, technically it's not allowed. Like practically, well, I know, for example, some cases when doctor data was taken from the public source because doctor was registered in one place, and this data, including working hours from this person, where the person lives, were placed in the public site with the information about where doctors are located. And yeah, good luck to delete it. I mean, like, we didn't manage to do it, for example, just because, well, it's claimed as a public information. On the other side, someone can really easily misuse it. So yeah, good luck also with this type of the requests, and sometimes it's very hard to solve, and it's not really covered like that well by data protection stuff. Right to be forgotten. This one definitely I can, as end user, I see that it's improved. So yes, I can make a claim to the company, request like give me the data and please delete it, and they are obligated to confirm that they did deletion. Of course, under certain limits, again, because here GDPR regulation gonna let's say collide with the tax regulation. For example, you cannot be forgotten if you have made some kind of order, for example. In this case, tax regulation gonna override the data protection regulation and GDPR and the right of being forgotten. On the other side, yeah, it feels like it works a little bit better. And technically, companies are obligated also to provide you information what they managed to collect about you. But honestly, just for fun, I made a bunch of requests to some of the companies who tried to contact me, like here's our products and whatever. And then on the request, okay, like based on the paragraphs of the GDPR, for example, like provide me information. And yeah, in most cases they did provide information, but they didn't provide all the details. And yeah, I mean, good luck with checking and double checking if they have collected and sent you all the details which they had about you. But yeah, it's kind of trust thingy. So on the one side, you need to trust that they have deleted and actually sent you everything what they had about you. On the other side, well, of course, you can give a try to make a complaint, and yeah, maybe it will be somehow processed. So as an end user point of view, I would tell in most cases I didn't benefit at all out of it. I mean, the amount of problems, like with all these banners, with all this disruptive, let's say all the things, I would tell that I'm not that much happy. Developer point of view. Yes, this is like the biggest and the most interesting thing. As a developer, you know, when you read more and more about this data protection things, and that's like what is PII or private identifiable information, and you feel more and more that those rules and regulations are written by non-IT people who have no idea about some technical things, but they try to regulate it, put it in the law and regulations for IT people. So in some cases, it's so much abstract that it looks even ridiculous. Things like might, like what might be considered as the PII, like the data might be collected or might be connected to natural person, so on. Especially if you start to talk about big data field, it's gonna be a nasty topic in general. And maybe as a simple thing, like for example, IP address. It's classified as PII. Practically, most of the companies, they cannot tell who is behind the IP address. Reason behind it, not that many people have a static IP address. Even if you have a static IP, only your ISP can tell precisely who you are. Like basically, like to really have precision, you need to send like requests to ISP, Internet Service Provider, and only then they can tell that, okay, particular contract have the leasing of this type of the IP address for this period of time. So potentially behind of that IP was particular natural person or maybe company and so on. But basically as a just generic company, you have IP, but you have no idea what is behind. There could be some kind of public IP address. There could be, I don't know, like just exit point from the mobile network. There could be exit point from, I don't know, stores, someone using public networks and whatever. Someone could lease it for a short period of time and then release the IP address. So it's super hard to match it. But yeah, it's still claimed as being as a PII. And the fun part that IP address, for example, it's a part of the TCP IP stack. So like it's a part of TCP IP protocol in general. So you take things which are public and say that now it's one piece of this is private, but internet is not working like that. And that's the like fun thingy for me sometimes. And this is like a little bit strange. I mean, I understand the idea behind why they decided to try to make it like that, but it's very, very hard to accept it, yeah? As a simple maybe idea for people who are not that much in the IT, it's like, for example, to send just a normal snail mail to any kind of company or whatever, you have to put the address where you're gonna send the mail. And then the company who will receive mail from you, they cannot do it because first you need to sign a consent with them, and they need also to explain you how they're gonna use this mail address. Plus on the top, they also need to ensure that postman who takes your mail and then like carries and brings it to their office also explains how he uses this address which he managed to obtain from you, and then like bring it like or how at the end, like let's say the whole mail appears in the company mailbox. Yeah, I mean, of course you can say that now the whole address is private, and now companies, to make any communication with customer with snail mail, need to make the normal, let's say, contract signature and user consent clarification, including the for example DHL or Deutsche Post or whatever other company who is delivering the mails, to also have a lot of bureaucracy around. That's gonna be fun if it would work like that. But I mean, in the real life it looks strange and weird. On the other side, in internet they assume it's fine. Same with shop. Just take a look at the e-commerce, who need to ask you a lot of questions, like what we can do, what we can like do with your maybe data. Your data here is just your IP address and maybe your browser information, and that's it. On the other side, when you just enter a physical store, there is cameras there. There's of course like that information, that there is video in place, and of course no one actually bothers, for example, the employees of the store. Take a look where you go, how you're going, which path you choose. So they can track and understand what you are doing in the physical store, which products you buy. They sometimes try to make inception, put particular products like just near your eye so they can see or you can see better and purchase the most expensive products or things like that, yeah? On the other side, same things are not allowed to do in the e-commerce without consent. But you don't sign any consent when you just enter generic physical store. So yeah, when you try to transfer the same rules which are written in the data protection regulations and versus the real life, there is some kind of so strange things happening, so it's ridiculous. And of course, it's like kind of chicken or egg question, like consent first or content first. Technically, you cannot even deliver the site to the person without having a consent, because if IP address is a part of the TCP/IP, then even to send backwards, actually to request first image and whatever, and deliver backwards to the user, you already use IP address without any consents at all. So yeah, it's fun part. Of course, there's some kind of, let's say, regulations in place, but one way or another, some things are really ridiculous here. And of course, on the top, like the most funny questions which I receive sometimes, like from the legal, from data protection officers, so on. What if CIA gonna open and take a look at the data of the customer of your shop, for example? Or what if arbitrary, let's say, like kind of XYZ company gonna do some kind of behavioral tracing over the user? Or like if there any probability to map particular data set, like from here to natural person there. And yeah, that's sometimes a little bit ridiculous, because in most cases, I mean, like when I was especially like learning the security field, so on, in most cases, the main question is it not is it doable, but question who is interested in getting the data about you. Like if the company who wants to obtain the information about individual or whatever have enough resources, money, like physical resources, they will get it. The fun part here that like in the GDPR, for example, like we talk a lot about some kind of the measures which can be done, how to encrypt the data, so on. On the other side, the fun part, that even the most secured systems can be broken through human. In most cases, human is the most vulnerable part of any protected system in the, like at the end. So that's the fun thing. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, idea is good, but sometimes implementation, like even from developer point of view, it looks a little bit ridiculous. Who might benefit out of it? I mean, we talk a lot, like, or I already talk a lot, like about, for example, IP addresses, things like that, that some things look strange, some things look too much blurry. Who is benefiting out of it? You as an end customer must probably know. I mean, for me personally, as end user, I don't get any benefits here. Really, real benefits, yeah? As an organization, as a company, I also in most cases do not benefit as well because of like problems here, problems there, someone is asking here, there, like that goes a little bit crazy, but someone needs to benefit out of it. And the fun part here is, that's my opinion of course, but more blurry process, then much easier afterwards to make a fines on the top of it. So, and that's the idea, like the more abstract rules and regulations you have, then easier afterwards to find out why the abstract requirements were never fulfilled, yeah, and then make a fine on top. So first, who is benefiting? My opinion, of course, yeah, authorities and regulators. These guys, basically, at least in Europe, for example, they can make fine up to 4% from annual company revenue. Like annual company revenue, 4 or 5% for the case. Or like the top limit for that, if the company is big enough, then not more than 20 millions per fine. And yeah, it's a huge money flow at the end. I mean, like which normal person would, let's say, not accept this money flow? And if you have very abstract regulation, you can always find out the reasons why something is not really compliant on 100% and then try to fine for that. Easy. And here in these conditions, I would assume that actually no one really cares about mid-sized companies or small companies, because in this case, they are the most vulnerable like parties, yeah? Who also might benefit out of it. I might assume that big companies, really big ones, worldwide, that one which have enough money then to easily survive like multiple fines in a row, even if we talk about like 20 million fines, if they can survive a big pile of this fines without any big issues, well, for them, if they act smart, they can get rid of small opponents or mid-sized opponents by just making additional claims, let's say, or something like that, against of the opponents, just to destroy them. And I mean, I have seen, and you can find out on the internet, like the companies who got the big fines and then they were pretty much screwed, yeah? So it's actually, this is also a perfect and very strong lever how to destroy the opponent if you know how to tackle it and if you are big enough to be able to handle it. So hello, monopoly. Next one, like auditory, who have benefit out of it. Lawyers, like data protection officers, and of course some politicians as well on the top, because on the one side, like we have legal people. In the past, it was already pretty much hard to find out a good lawyer who knows IT field and law and like regulations. Now, after all this GDPR things happened, like the data processing agreements and things like that, it's even harder. And on the top, like as a politician, for example, you can always say that yes, we're thinking about, let's say, every or each individual, and we want to ensure that all of them are protected, safe, and blah, 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 whatever else. So yeah, I mean, there is also like very, very good idea how to handle it. And potentially who else might benefit out of it pretty well is actually organizations like public organizations or some kind of the lobbied companies. They can get actually good, let's say, free spots on the market, because it's pretty much easy to push out from the market, for example, some big players saying that, okay, now you're not legal to be used because of whatever reasons we assume you might misuse somehow the data and whatever. And while all these investigations are running in place, this, let's say, like, there is a free space on the market which can be obtained by partially ready solutions from, let's say, internal market in Europe, for example, or from this country and so on. So there is a possibility to lobby some companies, some products, and things like that. In parallel, of course, yeah, it brings some, let's say, European parts of industry into the Stone Age. Because, I mean, within the last years, I really feel like big pain, like that some software really became like much dumber. I know some companies who actually decided to close like European like products for European market, just not to deal with all this, let's say, data protection things. Of course, with this new EU-US framework, it became a little bit easier. But again, it's like pretty much powerful game at the end against of some, let's say, US companies or the companies outside of EU. So yeah, that's about the benefits. Of course, you can try to maybe imagine some other, but this is like top 4 which I could, let's say, compile out of my mind. Conclusion. GDPR, yeah. Is it good or bad? It's good. The idea itself was pretty good. The implementation, this is what probably I don't like too much right now, because it seems that implementation itself is oriented rather on making money on the fines than actually on making some kind of constructive and secured environments for the European citizens. So it's kind of behind or hid like behind the illusion of, let's say, that someone or like political regulations or some other regulations, they take care about each individual. They just hiding behind of the idea to protect a little bit internal market on the one side, on the other side to actually push further like possibility to get the fines, to like fill up quickly with money, let's say treasury and things like that. What also like why I assume that this goes in this direction, like, or is already in this direction, because I also see a bunch of examples when, for example, there is no open dialogue between the regulation authorities and, for example, the companies, so on. So in most cases, at least like if you try to read in the internet articles, so on, it looks like that a lot of things are going through the court precedents, and some of them seems to be were actually raised by the company just was asking like if we can do this or that, or most probably other companies were just complaining that I think that company was using something. And then like as another company who receives the claim, then you have to prove that you are not an idiot. It's kind of a mice and cat game, and even when you didn't try, for example, to misuse the data, there's always a chance to find out how did you misuse it. Yeah. So yeah, and the another interesting thing is that like I really spent some time to find out some alternative products. For example, like if, for example, authorities or regulations tell that okay, you cannot use this or that tool, what you can use then? Fun part, they don't provide you alternative products. They cannot tell that, okay, you can't use this, but you can use that, which is equal or pretty much equal to the product which we reject. They rather said, yeah, this not allowed, not allowed, not allowed, not allowed. What is allowed? Which basically brings you to the situation where, like, I would tell a lot of European companies right now reinvest like big piles of money on the one side to ensure that they somehow try to be compliant with this blurry and abstract regulation on the one side. On the other side, they reinvent the wheel. So they have to rebuild a bunch of products from the scratch again to ensure that they are compliant with this blurry regulation. So this is for me sometimes like looks very crazy, and like even like you can feel it that even developers are upset because they already tell that yes, we can use this product or we can use that product. It's much more powerful, and companies who have developed that product invested millions there. So like it's very powerful ecosystem, for example. But on the other side, yeah, it's not allowed to use because some papers are not that good and shiny. And what if CIA tries to squeeze and get some data out of there? So basically, yeah, 2 is not allowed, and that's why like developers what we need to do. Then we need to develop something either from scratch or find out some kind of open source products and whatever. And then good luck, because again, like you develop from scratch or you take open source product versus you had already like very big ecosystem from, I don't know, whatever supplier. So yeah, kind of feeling sometimes it goes into the Stone Age. Is there workarounds? Of course they are, but all the time it's just a headache. So like you really need to like ensure that everything is compliant. And why I don't like it, as I mentioned, idea is good, and the idea itself could be really used to push the whole European region to move into the protected and safe environment, for example, from US, from maybe even other internal, let's say, European countries, so each country could isolate their product to ensure that they are compliant with all regulations. But to do it, like instead of making fines here, and there, that like you're fined, well, better to just jump into the constructive dialogues and actually bring the working products. And that could be the idea to change the mind. But yeah, for now already many years have passed, and to be frank, I don't see trends that mind is changing somehow. Moreover, it becomes sometimes more and more blurry, more and more cases have appeared in the court, and yeah, welcome back to court-driven development, yeah, if we can name it like that. So yeah, if you have your experiences, questions about this topic, because it's so huge that there could be a lot of things to mention, but if you have anything, feel free to put in the comment or like contact me in private as well, and yeah, can give it a try to cover it more detailed maybe somewhere next time. Let's see. Yeah, take care. Talk to you later. Hopefully you don't have that much pain with data protection topics, or you didn't dig that much deep as I'm doing sometimes. Cheers.